Join me today as we take some plain doll shirts and turn them into some fun decorated doll shirts for your doll to wear. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy these are to do. Alright, our first step on this video today is going to be just to give you an overview of what this series is going to be. At the time of filming this part, I don't know how many videos we're going to have in this little, we'll call it a mini-series. A sewing mini-series, we'll call it. But I made a bunch of t-shirts, doll-sized t-shirts. I actually bought two triple extra large t-shirts at Hobby Lobby. And I got 6 shirts out of each. So I have a dozen blank white t-shirts ready to go. I hope to decorate most, if not all of them, over the next few weeks. We'll see how long this takes. But we need to do a little prep, and I want to talk to you about what we are going to be doing. So I'm going to be showing you some super simple decorating ideas for t-shirts, for doll t-shirts, or heck, you could even scale some or all of these up to your own size clothing. Some of them are going to be super simple, will require no added, not really any extra tools or anything that you might not have or can't get easily. But I'm also going to show you some things that take special equipment that are fun, and maybe they'll be future projects for you if you decide to stay with sewing and crafting and you get more expensive tools, more expensive toys, we'll call them. Or maybe you already have access to them and you just haven't thought about using them for your doll clothes. But the first thing we need to do is figure out a way, when we are decorating the front of the shirt, we don't want to get stuff on the back of our shirts. So for that, we're going to make a board like this. Now, if you're only doing 1 or 2 shirts at a time, you probably only need one of these. I made a bunch. I'm going to make one more to show you. And so the first thing I did was I took one of my shirts and I measured the distance, because what this is going to do, it's going to slide up in the doll shirt like this, and that will protect the back of the shirt. So I took one of my rulers and I measured how wide I needed that. And I figured a 6-inch wide piece, it needs to be at least 6 inches long. I just made these the size of the flap of the box. What I did was I got a cardboard box, something that came in the mail. And I cut off at 6 inches. Doesn't have to be perfect. The mat I'm working on, by the way, is an old self-healing quilting mat, and I've got it upside down. This is one I use mostly for crafting, especially the back side. I have a nicer, newer, clean one that I use when I'm sewing, like when I'm doing quilts or something like that, and I need the mat. So I could get another, at least one. I could probably get 2 out of that flap. Now this one it's 12 inches long, so I'm going to cut it off at about 8 inches, simply because I don't need it to be that long, and I want to be able to wrap it up securely. So what I have here is one of those handy sheets of Reynolds wrap foil that you can buy all pre-cut. You could just use aluminum foil out of your kitchen cabinet, but I have these and they're cheap. I get them at Dollar Tree, and it was convenient. So I'm going to wrap this on here. I'm going to wrap down, and I'm going to wrap up. Now you could cover this in like parchment paper or freezer paper or something like that. I like the aluminum foil because it has something really wet on the front. It won't soak into the cardboard where it can with paper. I find that aluminum foil just stays nice longer. When this gets nasty, I can always change the foil. Also, the aluminum foil kind of conducts the heat back when I'm doing things at the ironing board, which can sometimes be very advantageous when we are decorating our doll shirts. So let me get out the stuff for our first shirt we're going to decorate. All right, here's what we're going to need to decorate our first t-shirt. So I've already put the t-shirt onto the little foil-colored covered board. The fabric paint and the paintbrush are optional, but I think they'll really add to this design. This is just, and be sure you're using one that says it's fabric paint. If you're using regular acrylic paint, you really should add the fabric. There's an additive you can add to regular paint to make it work better on fabric. Otherwise, it gets really stiff and it's just not good. I picked out this piece of fabric at the fabric store a while back. I love this. I think it's really pretty. People that know me know I have kind of a thing for butterflies. So we are going to cut out, I think I'm going to use this blue one right here because this one is calling to me. I bought a 1/4 yard. I can use this to do other things with too, but I just love the motif and the fact that the butterflies are a really good size. As you can see, we'll kind of see how they look here. It's going to go like that on the shirt and it's going to be really nice. We're going to use some Heat and Bond Ultra Hold again. This is the kind of fusible backing that does not need to be sewn after it's on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open this up. I already cut one little piece off. Remember, we used this for our, when we did our doll t-shirt before in our sewing series. So I don't want to use my good scissors for this. I'm going to cut a piece that's bigger than the butterfly, but smaller than my fabric. Remember when we cut the other one out, we cut our fusible web to our shape, and then we ironed it on the fabric and then cut the fabric out that way. Well, this one we're doing slightly differently. Now, I don't want any bits of this showing out past my fabric. So I'm going to cut off just a little bit so that it's narrower than my fabric. And we waste a little bit of fusible web this way, but that's okay. I'd rather waste a little than get it stuck to my iron. And this way it goes all the way to the edge of our little butterfly. All right, let's move over to the iron and put this on the back of our fabric. All right, this works better when I remember to push record before I start filming. So I've cut out another butterfly and some more fusible web. I'm going to press my butterfly fabric and put it face down, pretty side towards the ironing board. Fusible web, we've got this side that's got the glue on it, and we've got the paper side. You're going to put this down on top of your butterfly, paper side up, and we press for about 2 seconds with a dry, warm iron. Don't go any hotter than what the package says. Now we're going to move back to the table and go to the next step. All right, now that this is cool enough to handle, we're going to cut it out. There's an optional thing here. You could cut around this part where the antenna are and save the ones from there. I'm actually going to use the paint to recreate the antenna. I am going to use my fabric scissors, even though there's paper on the back, because I need to be able to cut the fabric without making any tearing of my fabric. I'm going to cut up as close as I can without cutting off the design. On that little body of the butterfly, I'm going to go like that. I'm not going to worry about these little wispy parts that come off. Now, if you really wanted to preserve those, you could cut around this not so close. This is called fussy cutting, when you cut around a shape like this. Hopefully you're seeing most of what I'm doing. Now I'm going to cut like that. And I'm going to cut. And since this does have a white background, it's fine if there's a little white, little of the background showing around. It's not a huge deal. I like to cut out kind of large areas off first, and then I cut in closer to where I want the final cut. Hopefully you're not totally bored watching me cut this out, but I did want to show you on this one how I'm doing this. I cut up close to, but not through the little butterfly head there. I am going to just chop off those antennae, and I'm not going all the way down in there. I'm leaving a little bit of white. When I lay it down on the table, you'll be able to see that. There, see, I just left a little bit of white in a few areas. That's fine. It'll blend in with our t-shirt. I'm going to do this here where there's better light. I'm going to just peel off that backing. Now we have the shiny side. We're going to take this back, and I think I'm going to play with it. I think I want the butterfly at an angle. Now, I do want to make sure that I've got it centered pretty well on the t-shirt side to side. So I'm going to, that was right. All right. I'm putting, doesn't have to be exact, I'm putting him right there. So let's move back to the iron and put him on to the shirt. All right, and I'm sorry the lighting isn't very good over here. Nothing I can do really about that right now. 1, 2, 3. Hold the iron on it for about 8 seconds. And now that's permanently attached to our t-shirt. So let's go back to the table and embellish it a bit. All right, doesn't that look wonderful already? But now we're going to add some little antenna. So be really careful doing this. You get one shot at it. So this is obviously very optional. Just a little bit of my fabric paint out. Put on my glasses. And we're just going to make, and I've got way more paint here than I need. And I would recommend have some extra fabric and practice. I saved all my scraps for my fabric so that I can practice on it. All right. Just one. And there's the other one. Now this fabric paint does need to dry for quite a while. Don't forget to wash your brush out. And it needs to lay for about 4 hours. And don't run this through the washer until it's dried for at least 12 hours. I'm going to go wash my paintbrush and we'll do another technique. All right, here are the items we need for our next t-shirt. I've got my t-shirt already on the little foil covered board, and I have here some rubbing alcohol in a dropper bottle. That's really important, and you're going to need that. I've got a ruler because the design I'm going to do is going to take some straight lines. And I've got some alcohol markers. Now these happen to be Bic, what do they call these? Bic intensity markers. I picked up these at, I think, Walmart. I like playing with alcohol markers. And for this technique you could use your Sharpie pens, you could use the permanent markers from the dollar store, you could use the fancy alcohol markers from the craft store, you could use any alcohol-based ink in a marker for this project we're going to do next. I did find that the lighter colors in this line work better than the darker colors. The darker colors tend to stain more, and I didn't like how they turned out. For this one, play with them on a scrap of fabric first because every pen reacts differently and you might find that certain colors just don't work well. So I am going to make a really simple design, and for this we do need to work kind of quickly because it's going to, the ink dries pretty fast because it's alcohol based, so the alcohol will evaporate pretty quickly. I'm just doing a really simple line design. This is a lot of fun though. I really enjoy doing this. Now I would add orange to it because I know rainbow, you know, would have orange, but I found that the orange pen really didn't play nicely on the fabric. It made some bad looking marks. I'm going not quite to the seam line with some of these because it is going to bleed quite a bit. And some colors bleed a lot more than others. Now the magic. Take your dropper and run it along. and the color, because they are filled with an alcohol-based ink, the rubbing alcohol makes the ink spread. And because it's an alcohol-based ink, it won't wash out. So these can safely be washed. Now, as with any time that you are putting any fabric on your doll that is not plain white, there's always a chance that the color from this design or from any other design we do could bleed onto your doll. It's really recommended that you only store dolls dressed in white or not dressed and wrapped in white cloth if you're storing for a long period of time, because any fabric can bleed. We're going to let this all dry, and when it's completely dry, we'll come back. I think I'm going to add a little more blue, but we'll see when it gets dry. All right, now that this is dried, my blue has pretty much disappeared, but that's okay. We'll just add some more. There. And I think I'm going to do yellow again also, because yellow is another one that has just kind of disappeared on me. And now, put some alcohol down on those. And alcohol markers come in a huge array of colors, especially if you go to the craft store and look at like the Copic markers. They have some beautiful colors. There we go. And I think I might add just a little more purple. Just take it down just a little bit with the purple. Because this pink, I love this edge of the pink. And I kind of like to get my purple and my blue to balance that. But there we go. So that one is probably pretty much done. We'll see when it dries how it looks. I thought I was done with this shirt, but I'm not, because I want the blue to show up just a little bit more than it does. I'm almost happy with it. So I thought I would turn the camera back on and show you what I'm doing. It's basically the same thing we did before. I'm trying to flood it, but not flood it too much. There, that. Let's get this a little bit there. All right, we'll let that dry and see how it looks. All right, that's much better. We can see all the colors and they blend nicely. I love how this little shirt came out. Stay tuned and see what we do next. All right, our next design, we are going to be painting with some more of that fabric paint. We're going to do kind of an abstract design. Now, if you're an artist, I have seen some beautiful artwork painted on shirts. I'm not that talented, so I just do abstract. So what I have is 3 colors, royal blue, purple, and red in the fabric paint, and then I have a gold glitter puffy paint. We'll come to that when these are dry. So to make my life easier, I've got a palette. Now I buy these palettes at Dollar Tree. Let me wipe that out. I just rinsed it because I had used it earlier. There. So I'm just going to put a squirt of paint, a little bit of each. I believe I bought this fabric paint at Walmart, but it's available a lot of, Gem Fabrics has it, I would imagine Michaels has it, Hobby Lobby probably has it. Pretty much anywhere you can buy stuff to decorate t-shirts, you're going to find, and this is just made by Tulip. Tulip is a really good brand of stuff to decorate fabric with, I will say that. So I am just going to have fun. I'm going to do, like I said, it's going to be abstract. I'm just going to make some lines. And that's kind of fun. We're going to make this look a little cool. Once it's all done, we're going to do some stuff. Let's see, I'm gonna do that red next. Just kind of color block. Kind of a mess, and that's kind of what I'm going for. All right, I'm going to let that dry, and when that's dry, we're going to do some more. All right, I lied. I decided I want more purple going this way too. I kind of like that purple going all over. All right, now maybe a little more red here. It's hard to stop. All right, now I'm done. So we'll let that dry. All right, this is not completely dry, but it's dry enough to go on to the last step, and that is to finish it off. And I like to use this puffy paint in a gold glitter or a silver glitter, something like that. And just always start this out onto something that's not your project, because sometimes there's air in the nozzle and you don't want a big air blub. Don't press too hard, because don't squeeze too tight, because you don't want big blurbs. And then when that dries, we'll see how this looks. All right, so our glitter paint has dried. I think the key to this, I wanted to point out, is really thin strokes, especially on the doll clothes. You don't want a huge blob. So there will be close-up pictures of all 3 shirts on the blog post. Be sure and go over there and take a look. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. I'd really appreciate it. And a thumbs up and a comment go a long ways towards helping this channel to grow. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, come on over. It's a good place to share your photos of what you're doing with me too. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.